This is Joshua Hart here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Ben Shalom here in Liverpool. Ben, a great night of boxing, ending the domestic year on a high.
Yeah.
How do you reflect on tonight?
Yeah, it was great to be back in Liverpool. Obviously, been a long time coming. Not been here since Natasha last fought here in January. But I thought Frankie Stringer was really impressive. I thought Mikey Talon as well looked good. Vidal Riley was just good to be back, and to give away that amount of weight and have a finish like that sets up the Isaac Chamberlain fight perfectly. That's a fight that we've wanted to see for a long time, so that started off well. Mark Jeffers, for me, he's so hard to match because he's so avoided. He's such a top super middleweight. For him, a lot of people would think he's the best super middleweight in this country. I think he's bordering and knocking on world level. And those are the type of fights that he has to now step to. We tried to make the Sadjo fight. Sadjo didn't want anything to do with Mark Jeffers, and there was a lot of money on the table there. And so let's see what happens with him, but I think he's one to watch. I think he's a phenomenal fighter. I'd love to see some big nights back in Manchester with him. McKenna Cutler was the fight of the night, and Lee Cutler's had a tough year.
I think you could say it's a fight of the year contender almost.
Ridiculous fight. Stephen McKenna always brings it. He's a great lad. He's so intense during fight weeks. He's so intense during the fight, but he makes, you could have a criticism that sometimes he's a little too one-dimensional, and I know he can box because he had such a great amateur career, but it's like when I speak to Mick, he just loves to fight. And so as a promoter, you can't complain, but it gives opportunities, and Lee Cutler was phenomenal. So to take a year out and to put Stephen McKenna on the canvas twice, he looked as though maybe he was losing the fight 6-7 rounds in, but then just came out, put him on the canvas again, had a great end to the fight. Just a great fight. And from a boxing perspective, Lee Cutler's had it really tough. He's really struggled to get opportunities. He got knocked out by Brad Ray in the first round. He's worked his way back. It's a true success story of hard work, resilience. I'm happy for his trainer as well, Josh Pritchard, that was a big moment for them. And they were the underdog. I was quite surprised when they took it, because I just thought, wow, Stephen McKenna's a hard night's work, and you're going to jump in the deep end, and it paid off, and they knew what they were doing, and I couldn't be happier for them. I thought Lauren Price was scary. I think she is scary. I think I knew that if she just gets it right and adjusts to the pro game, she's going to be able to do that. And there's not many fighters in female boxing that have power in both hands and can do that. And we're starting to see her box differently to those first few fights. And that was special. That was a statement. And Natasha Jonas was flawless and rolled back the years. And it was a great night. Sets up some huge fights in Riley Chamberlain, and then the big one in Jonas Price as well. So fantastic night.
I think you summed it up perfectly there, so we'll move on. Obviously, yeah. I know you've done a couple of interviews with my colleague Eamon Khan this week, and listening to that whilst at home, you mentioned you've done everything you can to make Eubank Jr versus Ben. So I'm going to ask you this here. Deep down inside, do you feel that fight happens next, or is it separate ways and then meet maybe another time?
Look, I don't think the fight ever happens if it doesn't happen next. I think all parties agree that. I just can't see how it can or how it does once they go in different routes. I'll reiterate, we've done everything we can. I hope that people are sensible. I hope that it can happen from a promoter's point of view, but from a fighter's point of view, Chris Eubank Jr wants to fight for a world title, and will deliver what he wants at the end of the day. And am I hopeful? Yes. Who knows? Who knows what will happen over the next few days? I do think we'll know, but he's got good options, and so to be able to have a mega fight like that, to be able to fight for a world title, he's in a good space, and I think we should be able to announce something in the next week.
Just moving away from that and looking at next weekend, we do see a massive fight in Riyadh, the rematch, Usyk Fury 2. Just one thing on the undercard, we got the disappointing news yesterday that there's been an adverse finding within Dennis McCann's VADA test. I know you have no involvement in his career, but just as a promoter, what was your initial reaction to seeing that news? Just
disappointing, obviously. Good to see him taken off the card immediately, no questions asked, but disappointing because Dennis is a great lad and a great fighter, and you don't want to comment too much until you know, but always disappointing, or never looks good for the sport. But hopefully the more it's found and the more this happens, the more it gets stamped out and the more people don't want to take risks. That's what you really want to get to. Fighters need to stop. And this is not talking about Dennis, it's talking about generally. We don't know what's happened there. But you don't want fighters to think that it's worth the risk. And sometimes I think in boxing, people think from seeing what's happened to this fighter, that fighter, maybe it is worth the risk, and that's a dangerous place to be in a sport like ours.
I think you said that perfectly. Just one last one. Prediction. Fury versus Usyk next Saturday. We know what happened back in May when they shared 12 great rounds. We have potentially 12 great more rounds coming up. Who do you think wins and how?
I'd love Tyson to win. It's just so hard to bet against Oleksandr Usyk. It's so hard. I think Tyson can do it if it's the best Tyson Fury. If it's anything less, even 5% less, then Oleksandr Usyk will do it again.
Do you feel we need to see a Fury-esque performance that we saw versus Deontay Wilder in the rematch back in 2020? Front foot, aggressive, backing him up. Is that the type of Fury we need?
I think he has to bully him. I think he has to use his size. I think I'd like to see, I know it's part of Tyson's game, a bit less showboating. And, you've got to respect the fact that you're in there with one of the greatest fighters to ever live. But I think Tyson's done everything he can this camp from all accounts, and he's ready and he's kept himself quiet, and he's ready to get those belts back.
Well, Ben, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on a great year and have a good Christmas.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.